Well, hello. I'm Sam Peterson, author of 2 books, Chunky, Transgender Junkie, and Sugar, A Memoir of Craving. I'm an old gay trans man with bad teeth, and I love knives. I'm not here to show you the newest, the latest, the fastest, the bestest. I am here to queerly share my queer love of knives with you. Nobody asked me, but here goes anyway. I have pulled out my favorite knives in my collection. I am specifically naming my collection because there are some knives out there that I feel sure would rank, but I don't have them. So, like when knife influencers on YouTube talk about their most carried knife or their most loved possession, and it turns out it's just another pass-around knife from their influencer group. Yeah, these are my knives. What catches the eye of a queer trans man with bad teeth, you never ask? Well, let's go. In no particular order, mostly, although this first knife is definitely towards the end of the list, we will start with the Maxace Black Mirror. The Maxace Black Mirror. What an oddball knife this is. It's pretty slim, and I love the peacock eye pattern inset in the scales here. So gorgeous. I'd heard the raves about this knife and I jumped, and I have been very happy about it ever since. I've carried this knife for a long time before I put her up. She's fantastic. Fantastic reverse flick, which is my jam. It's titanium, carbon fiber, and M390 steel. If you don't have one of your own, there you go. It's not a look I go for generally. It's this sort of millennial space age thing, but I like it on the Maxace Black Mirror. It's one of the queerest knives I'll be talking about, for sure. Now, the very first knife I ever fell in love with was the MKM Black Wash Titanium Steel Goccia, an Italian product which reminds me of a knight's armor for some reason. It's got this badass water design on it, water droplet design, you see that? Which is what Goccia means in Italian. And there's something both retrograde and futuristic about this knife. Like cyberpunk, maybe. I just love it. It sounds so metal. Oh. Falling for this knife was like the first time I ever had good sex. Like, oh, now I get it. I love a little knife, and I could put a handful on here, especially the Begleiter Mini in titanium, the upscale Baby Banter by Ben Peterson, no relation, and the Qvist Vanish, but I chose this one. The Pena X Series Caballero with the sky-high pattern, sky-ha pattern, scales, in titanium. Now, not all of the knives on this list are titanium, but 9 out of 10 are. Look at this little guy. He's so stylish, yet utilitarian. This is a dandy's blade. Since I mentioned titanium, here's my one non-titanium entrant, which is the Quiet Carry Drift. I could keep this one in my pocket forever and be fully satisfied. It's just so well designed. It's so elegant yet utilitarian. I mean, this one is in Van X steel with LC 200N liners, and it's meant to get dirty and wet. Now, this is the knife, the one knife that made me fall in love, not just with the knife, but with the company. And that is the Tuya Envy 4. In copper-infused carbon fiber overlays on titanium, of course. I haven't waxed on about the blades of these knives, but they're, you know, they're part of the charm too. This is a lovely little sheep's foot situation. This one is just built so fucking well. The tolerances are amazing. It's probably the second knife I fell really hard for. And I carried it a bit too for a while until I realized it's really too pretty to mess up with my wet and dirty life. Now, for a more recent acquisition, the Love Them Knives Rezult. This knife is unlike anything I have, and it really stretches my aesthetic comfort zone. It's not an especially good-looking knife, but it's quite the butch thing. It's so heavy and solid. It's a real toughie only a mother could love, and that's why it's so appealing. 20 CV steel, titanium with burgundy insets, G10 insets, smooth ass deployment with both the flick, the button lock, and the fuller. It's fidgety as hell, and it's a real beater, butch beater. Another mask for mask knife for me is the Praxis. Bam! Industrial primer gray in bead blasted titanium. It is a knife for the end times. It's totally dystopian. It's just so big and tough, man. I love it. I feel really heterosexual when I carry this knife in the best possible way. Both by the same artist, my new favorite, Jacob Lundqvist. The first is the Urban EDC and Qvist collaboration, the Invert. Another knife with the Segai pattern, which I adore, clearly. It's etched right into the titanium, which makes it feel kind of weird, but you get used to it. It's a work of art. Just stunning with the gray on gray textures that I really seem to enjoy. Then Lundqvist went to Kizer and said, let me make a fun but elevated EDC blade, a la Qvist. And he rocked it out. And the pattern on this knife, the Varatas, Kizer Varatas, is not only handsome, it makes it grippy and fun to hold. It's your pretty standard drop point S35VN steel, but that's not what makes this knife worthy of favoritism. It is light, it is fidgety, it glides like oiled metal on ice, and it's a workable top flipper too. Just look at this thing. It's very, very homosexual. I make six figures as a communications wizard kind of a knife. And finally, this fucker. This is my hyper-dandified knife. It's got the touch of butch realness of a zero-tolerance knife, which is what it is, with the foppery of this delightful electric eclectic fence pattern, I believe done by the guys at Way of Knife. It's my absolute favorite knife. It's heavy, bossy, I've cut roots with it, I've shaved paper, and it does the job well, all while looking like this. Fuck, this knife is good. There you have it, folks, my faves. I didn't even really go into my Kizers. That's like a whole nother genre. Thank you for listening. I love you. I appreciate you. I can't live if living is without you. So I hope I see you next week.